So let's do some reading practice now. Okay, so this is going to be pretty quick. I'm going to do open mics, and I'm just going to call on you, and you just, actually, you know what? Let's do this. It's going to be open mics, and anybody can say it, all right? All right, so the first one, read this first word.
Call from private caller.
That was a mistake to unmute all the mics. All right, we'll do it this way. Lola Joy, can you please read this first word? These are not real words. These are just to get you reading, okay? A lot of them are English words written with Hebrew letters. Can you read this one up here?
Okay. You want me to read what?
Number one.
Number one of what?
Do you see the screen?
The assignment?
No. What's on your screen right now? Read that one. Number
You
one.
said reading.
Are you seeing my screen?
I don't have anything. Okay, sorry. Sorry, okay.
It's okay.
This is Pal.
Good. Fal. Great.
Yeah.
Nice. Very good. Okay. And now let's. Oh, I forgot which ones of you are new. So anybody else jump in and read number two. Um, yeah. Sometimes this online format is hard to do, right? Our COVID format of lessons. The Wuhan flu has us. We lose some efficiency this way. I can't just point and say next. Yeah. You know what? Maybe what I'll do. I'll read these in the interest of time, okay, for now. But you try to read them yourself before me. Try to beat me to the reading, okay? It's okay without your microphone. Okay, so number two, I'm about to read it. Try to read it yourself. Fal. Fal. Number three, try to read it yourself. This is the composite schwa. So just look at the sign that's next to the schwa. That's going to be how you read it. Fal. Fal. Number four, try to read it before me. Fail. Fail. All right. Number five, try to read it before me. Fell. Fell. Notice the difference? Number four is fail. Fail. It's an A. And number five is E. Fell. Fail. Fell. Right? You see they're different. Okay. And let's see. Number six, try to read it before me. This is, again, composite schwa. So what you want to do is just look after the schwa sign, whatever the next mark is, and that's what you want to read it as. All right. Fell. Fell. Sounds the same as number five. Number seven, read it before me. So there's a couple ways you could read this. You could either read it feel or fill. I'm going to do a short I sound because the next one is long. So fill, like to fill a bucket. All right. Number eight, read it before me. Try to read as fast as you can. Here it goes. Feel. So this is a long chirik, we call it, because the yod, notice there's no vowel sounder on the yod, right? If I do the search, I look under, I look next to, I look on top, nada, nothing. So that means he's part of the vowel, part of the chirik. It's a long chirik, so it's more like feel. Number nine, try to read number nine. Foam. You see these are English words, right? Foam. So I look down, there's no vowel here. My search pattern comes up next to it, no vowel. Oh, there's the vowel on top. Right? I guess you could actually see, if you're coming down, you'd see it first. So, foam. Okay? Number 10, try to read it. Sorry about the green line from the GoToMeeting software doing this. I'll try to remember support to see if I can get that off. Foam. Notice these are both the same word. This one is written with what we call a defective cholim. It's where the text did not use a vowel letter. And the scribes, over 1,000 years ago, when they added the vowel signs, because they knew it was foam, again, this is English word, so they would have known it was foam if this was Hebrew we're talking about instead of English words written with Hebrew. They would have put a dot here. Here, this is the full spelling, and it's the same pronunciation, foam. Words can be spelled either way if they have an O sound. It doesn't change the meaning of the word. It's just spelling standardization is something that did not happen until the modern era. All right. Try to read number 11. Something you like to eat. Food. Food. Sometimes fud. Can be a short and oftentimes also food. Number 12. Food. Also food. Food. Up here. F-oo or d. Okay. 13. Fought. Fought. Number 14. 14 is tricky. Remember with comets, there's a long comet, which is and a short comet that looks exactly the same, that is o. Okay? So this is a composite schwa, so it's even shorter than short. So it has to be o. So this one is fought. 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 Number 15. A dog likes to play with a ball. Ball. Number 16. Also ball. Ball. Number 17. Here we have a composite schwa. So ignore the schwa sign and look at the next part of that sign. That's the sound. So this one is read the same as this one. And probably in ancient times they had different levels of pronunciation, but today we read them pretty much the same. Bal. Bal. 18. Bail. 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 19 is going to be slightly different, okay? So 18 was bail. That's a long seri. And now we have short vowel segol. Bell. Bell. Ring my bell. Okay, number 20. Bed. Bed. Make sure you're trying to say these along with me. Rather, before me is better. Okay, but if you didn't get it before, then when I read it, try to read it also. Good. Okay, and now we have 21. Bid. 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 22. Notice that the yod has no vowel under or next to or above it. That means it's a y sound, or it's extending the vowel rather. Pardon me, not a y sound. It's part of the vowel sound. So this is a long chirik. Bead. Bead. Bid. Bead. I. E. 23. Boat. 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 24. Also, boat. Exact same pronunciation. Boat. If this was a Hebrew word we were representing, they would both mean the same thing. 25. But or boot. And the reason why with these short vowels I'm saying sometimes we say oo instead of it's because really the way that the words are pronounced today. right? And so, or in most recent times. And so the pronunciation we don't follow, again, exactly the way that the Masoretes had it planned. 26? But you don't want to be the only person saying the word differently, right? So our search pattern, look underneath, nothing. Up, here's the vowel next to. This is a shurik. It's a long u. Boot. Das Boot. Boot. All right, 27. Bot. Bot. I think they were going for bat there. 28. Look, we have a composite schwa, so there has to be an O sound in this case. It's Chataf Kametz. Boat. 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 Number 29. Always be careful to place your bet. Bet. And 30, I apologize again for the green line, but it's the same consonants, but we have a long chirik. So this was and this is going to be e. Beat, like Michael Jackson. Beat it. More reading practice because this is very important. Sorry if this is, hope it's not feeling mundane, but we just have to do this. This is part of, I got to make sure that you can read properly so that you can understand the text later, right? Number 1. You'll notice now we had this word before, but with a tav, and now we have a tet. For this is, if you care about the way it's represented in transliteration, like if you go to a library and they have the old card catalog system, but they didn't have Hebrew letters for Hebrew books, this would be represented with a T and a dot under it. Whereas words that are with a tav would just be a T. So this is tet, it's the emphatic T, but we pronounce them the same today. Bet. Although foreign names and foreign words, when you bring them into modern Hebrew, if they have a T sound in it, they will use this one usually to transliterate. So like if you have a visa to go to Israel or something, and you have a T in your name, and it's not a Hebrew name, they'll probably use tet for that. Nothing wrong with the letter. It's just I just noticed that that's the way things are done there. Okay, next. Almost the same. Look, this is the Gad Kafat letter. They're the same letter, but this is marking for us from the Masorah, from the tradition, that when there's a dot in it, it's a b, like boy, and without a dot, it's a v, like voyage. V, b. So this one is bet, and this one is vet. Take your dog to the vet. As long as he's a real one and doesn't have fake vet papers. Number 3. Okay, so here's our consonant. This is the letter Pei, and he also is a Begad Kefat letter, and he is the Dagesh, so we know it's a hard P, like Pinoi. So we look, there's no vowel under, but next to it there's a vowel, U. Pool. Go swimming in the pool. 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 And you'll notice the lamed, it's not, in English we have 2 ways to pronounce the L sound, right? There's L and there's O, right? And a lot of times, this is how you can recognize an American accent, is they will have this would be pool, go to the pool, right? But in Hebrew, it's only with the tip of the tongue up on the roof of your mouth. It's pool, pool, pool. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, so someone wrote to me that they don't see the green line. So that's nice if you don't see it. Maybe it's only on the screen which I'm recording. All right. Number 4. Number 4, the first letter is pronounced differently because it is the same letter. But remember, when there's a dagesh in this letter, in pei, then we say p, like Pinoy. And this happens, interestingly enough, in Tagalog, right? You also have a P sound can be a F, like Philippines, right? So this one is F. Here it's P, and here it's F. So this was Pul, and this is Full. Full. Number 5, Okay, and you should be aware that with number 5, um, they're not putting the letter in the correct final form. They're just wanting you to recognize it. Okay, so here it says bak, bak, right? And this is the kaf. Down here we see it in its final form. This letter really, when he's at the end of a word, he always takes the final form. Remember, I think it's 5 letters that have a final form. Be glad we're not studying Arabic. In Arabic, every letter, for the most part, has a standalone form. It has a beginning form, which is also often like the standalone form, but not always. It has a medial form, if it's not the first or last letter, and it has a final form. So there's a lot to memorize with Arabic if you're wanting to read that. So be glad we're doing Hebrew. The Hebrew system is much easier to learn to read. Bak, bak. Number 6, Bach, Bach. So kaf, when it doesn't have a dagesh, it's a KH sound really. Although really today we pretty much pronounce it the same as a chet. This is supposed to be slightly softer sound than a chet, right? So that's without the dagesh. It's a ch. And then with the dagesh, with the dot, the dot is called dagesh. It's a K sound, right? It's like k. So Bach, like Johann Sebastian Bach, if you like classical music. Harpsichord. All right, 7. We have a member who might have this as a nickname. Bass. Bass. Notice the tutseri, it's not it's a. A. Predator and prey, right? It's like EY. A. Bass. Let me write that. EY. Right. Number 8, same thing, but look, we have another Begad Kefat letter. Bait. When bait has a dot in the middle, it's a B, as in boy. But when it doesn't, it's a V, like voyage. V. Vase. Vase. You put your flowers in the vase. Number 9. So here we have the pay with the dot, so it's a P as in Pinoy sound. Pace. I hope the lesson has a decent pace. Pace. Number 10. On my screen, okay. The green goes through it, but I hope you guys don't see the green. Okay, so it's going to be the same, except we don't have the dagesh. So instead of a p like Pinoy, it's ph like Philippines. Face. Face. Now I want you to take just a second and read through these on your own. Make a mark next to any one of them which is confusing to you. All right? So take maybe 1 minute to go through, maybe 90 seconds to go through each of these. All right? And then I'll chime in and I'll quickly read through them. All right, how did you do? Were you able to read them all? I'll quickly go through. Number 1, bet. Number 2, vet. Number 3, pool. Number 4, fool. Number 5, bach. Number 6, bach. Number 7, bass. Bass. Number 8, vase. Vase. Number 9, pace. Pace. Number 10, face. Face. Any questions on those? Again, if you're too shy to speak on the microphone, that's fine. You can write me instead. I actually even prefer writing. I'm trying to check to see if there's any messages from anyone. You can also ask me in private if you don't want anyone to know that you're struggling at any point in the class. There's a way to send a private message on here. So you can just look at the chat part, and it might say whisper. If it's whisper or something like that, then no one will see this from you. And I've pretty much trained myself to notice now when it's, I used to not notice, and I would just, so-and-so said blah, blah. So now I recognize. Okay, so someone wrote something now. I'll check and see if it's a whisper or if it's public. Okay, good. Thanks for that public comment. Stuart says he understands it better now. Baruch Hashem. Very good, very good. Yeah, and guys, look, if you were with me last week and you went through and we covered a lot of material, right? And if you're feeling a little lost on some things, this is okay. There's the book that I used to teach myself Greek initially. The author of this book, he's a well-known textbook creator, basically, and he writes. And I'm trying to think of his name so I can give him credit. If it comes to me, I'll give you guys the credit. I'll give him the credit for you. But Mounce, Mounce, and in his book, although there's other grammars I like better now, but in his book, he says that you're entering now what's known as the fog, okay? The F-O-G, fog, right? Like if you've ever been to London or seen pictures of London, there's like almost always fog, right? And what the fog does is it obscures your view, right? It's basically a low-level cloud. You cannot see as far away as you usually could see. And it's normal in language learning, even in other learning, to enter into the fog, right? But as long as you're doing the work, as long as you're putting in the effort, eventually the fog will lift and it will move to a new place in your learning. I remember in university one time I had this physics exam, and I'm going through, and there was a couple things on there, like, what in the world? Like, and I was struggling with it, right? And then after the exam, a couple weeks later, the fog lifted and moved. Duh, I get it. It just was so annoying that this kept happening to me in physics. Like, I take a test, and then later, there were a few things on there that later finally were clear to me that had not been clear. I think it was circuit stuff, but it's just kind of funny that this is actually normal in human learning, especially if you're doing anything that's worthwhile in learning, something, i.e. something difficult. You will experience this. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It doesn't mean you can't learn. It doesn't mean there's an issue with you. It just means you're going through the process, and it's natural. But the stuff is still going to be in your subconscious. It's still, you're hearing it, you're seeing it, and hopefully you're practicing it. So the fog will lift, and it will move. So be encouraged. Don't let it get you down. Don't right now give up and think, oh, I just can't do Hebrew. It's too complicated. The other reason why I hit you hard in the beginning is years ago, I took a tutor from Berlitz Language in California, because at the place where I was working at the time, we had, well, it was all Americans working there, but some of the Americans were originally from Vietnam, and for some reason they loved to kind of click together, and they were speaking Vietnamese to each other all the time, right? And it was hard to get them to open up. And I'm a people person. I like to interact with people and people I work with. I want to have that communication. And so it was frustrating to me that the Vietnamese, not all, but many of those Vietnamese Americans, they would just chat in Vietnamese, and you could tell they were sealed off to the native born, so to speak, right? And so I took a language tutor, a private tutor from Berlitz for about half a year in Vietnamese. And then I got interested in other Berlitz materials, and I looked at some other Berlitz books on language learning. And Berlitz, they comment that they did some research regarding how to learn a language if you have a set amount of time. So let's say you have 1,000 hours over the next few years that you can dedicate to biblical Hebrew, right, or to whatever language, okay? And let's say that you could organize those hours however you want in the language that you're learning. It's best to have a higher concentration of hours on the fundamentals up front. So if you only have a set number of hours to work with, but you can move them around however you like, it's better early on to hit it hard, to do a lot of that just jumping into the language, to spend many more hours on the fundamentals. Then, later on, you can coast a little bit more. You'll be able to relax some lessen your time that's dedicated like that. So I'm applying what I learned for myself so that when I came into work one day after 6 months and they're blabbing amongst themselves, I was able to say to them, "Hey, day, I'm day. Shut up, get back to work." And everybody just looked at me like horrified. It was great. And after that, they opened up, and people were teaching me things and sharing things, and because you showed some interest in their culture. So this is something that I hope will benefit you, that you can understand both the fog and the idea of intense learning early on, right? So as much as possible, please put time into the learning now. If you're a busy person and you know you're going to have to eventually sacrifice some of the time in Hebrew, don't do the sacrifice now. Now is very important, and if you do not learn these fundamentals, it will be very, very, very difficult for you to keep up with us in the weeks ahead, okay? And we will slow the pace down, and we will adjust more into an immersion style of learning for a large part of the course. Right now, it's heavy rules-based, right? I would say maybe 80-20 or 90% rules-based, 10% immersion. We're going to shift after a couple of months more into 70% immersion, 30% rules-based, or 80% immersion, right? Being in the language, being surrounded by things so that you will develop some of your learning in the way that a child does, right? Just being around the language in as much as possible. But we'll still have rules explained, but you won't be required to memorize all of them, okay? So that's when you can relax a little bit, but you need to keep moving forward. Now, don't relax. Push forward. Keep your eye on the prize, the reason you're learning biblical Hebrew. Remind yourself. Why? For sure, it's a spiritual reason, right? You're not learning to chit-chat with Israeli techno music DJs, right? Hopefully that's not why you're learning it. I say that because I met a guy in Switzerland one time who spoke Hebrew, and I was shocked. This Swiss guy had learned Hebrew. And I asked him, like, why did you learn Hebrew? And he said, "Oh, I just love the Israeli DJs. They're so good." You learned the holy language because you like some DJs? It was crazy to me. But, the Swiss, they're usually polyglots anyway. Their country has 4 official languages. And so that's that. So back to the task at hand. So be encouraged and stick to it. It's going to be worth it.